Hi, welcome to Family Sense. Family Sense is dedicated to equipping every man, every woman, every husband, every wife with practical wisdom on family and marriage, especially in these toughest times. This is a production of No Regrets Communication, a division of Hope Education Network. Should you have any questions or need any information, please feel free to contact us on 0772 518 554. You can also contact us on 0754 734 738. You can also email us on noregrets@counselor.com. Right now, join in for insights from today's session. God bless you.
What does John 13:17 say? 13, verse 17. I want to understand that.
What does that now you know these things. God will bless you for doing them.
What?
Now you know these things. God will bless you for doing them.
How do you get blessed?
By doing.
By talking about them.
No, you do what you learn.
People, let's be serious. And the truth is, we tend to find ourselves broke all the time because of indiscipline. Okay? So, let's go back now to pricing. Now, this man, in practice, he does not sell bunches. Okay? But we created an imaginary situation that what if a customer came and asked him for bunches? But in his work process, there is no selling what? Bunches. So the bunch aspect of pricing is imaginary. But the cluster, as we shall see down there, is real. Now, you remember the cost of a bunch without delivery. You remember where it comes from? It is 5. Do you remember the figure 5,937? So that is the cost of having the bunch with him and without delivering. Are we together? When he's selling it at his store. Now, if he sells that bunch at 5,937, has he made any money? No. He's just recovering his costs. But if he sold at that price, how much would he have in his hands? 5,937 times how much?
150.
How much would he have in his money? In his hands? Imagine when he has 800 something money in his pocket. Would he feel that he has sold?
Yes.
Would he have made any money?
No.
How does your version of the Bible read in Isaiah 48 verse 17?
Thus saith the Lord thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord thy God, which teaches thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shouldest go.
How together? Thus says the Lord, thy Redeemer, the one who does what? Redeems you, saves you, helps you to avoid a path of foolishness and failure. What does he say? I am the Lord thy God who teaches you to do what? To profit, to make profit. Some versions say, I am the Lord thy God who teaches you to do what? What is best for you. The best way of even running your business, of counting your costs, of even making profit. And who teaches you the way you should do it. I want to emphasize the Lord's way of making what? Profit. That's the emphasis. Please, people can make profit anyway. And I'm talking about material profit now. But I'm not talking about any other way. I want to emphasize the Lord's standard of making profit. What does Proverbs chapter 28 verse 8 say?
A New English Translation, the one who increases his wealth by increasing interest gathers it for someone who is gracious to the needy.
All together. One who gathers what? His wealth by what? Increasing interest. Amasses it for another who will be kind to the poor. And some versions say he who increases his wealth by exorbitant interest amasses it for one who will put less markup, who will add just a little enjawulo. All together. Who will add a little what? And the underlying word is exorbitant what?
Wealth.
Interest. Exorbitant njawulo. I want to put nusu kunusu, 100 after 100. So that's the mind we tend to have. So I bought the bunch at what? 5,937. I will set it at 12,000. That is your way. But is it exorbitant or is it not? Now, what is not exorbitant in the eyes of God? Is a good question to ask. All together. Every guideline on these matters is very sound and very clear. Leviticus 27:8. But in your good time, if you are disciplined and you are ready to study, read it by yourself. But let's read from verse 9 up to verse 15.
ISV, if it's an animal from which they make an offering to the Lord, everything that he gives to the Lord from it will be holy. Verse 10, he is not to substitute it or change it, the good with the bad or the bad with the good. If he ever makes an exchange of an animal for an animal, then it and what's being exchanged is holy.
Okay. In the first place, interchanging things is not healthy. Let the product be what you say it is. So where is the place for counterfeits? Don't try to have a good product exchanged for a bad one, or a bad product exchanged out made to appear as though it's a good product. Whatever you are doing, if it's a good product, let it be good and let it be seen to be for what it is. If it's a poor product, don't try to package it as though it's a good product. In short, I can spend an entire day explaining that. But the emphasis is on counting what? Cost. But so the cost is determined on the quality of product, as we read on and see. Continue reading.
Verse
11.
If any animal is unclean, which cannot be brought to the Lord as an offering, make the animal stand in the presence of the priest. Then the priest will evaluate it as to whether it is good or bad. According to your, that is the priest's valuation, so it is to be. If a kinsman redeemer decides to redeem it, then he is to add a fifth to your valuation.
He adds a what?
A fifth
To the valuation.
to your valuation.
Adding what?
A fifth.
After judging
After judging
the
the
quality.
The quality.
So, good quality. Yes.
New Living Translation says 20%.
Says 20%. A fifth is
Yes.
in percentage form is 20%.
Same. Yes.
So he's giving an indication of his range of what? Profit. Please mark up. That's what we call a markup. Or we can call it enjawulo. Please do enjawulo on top of your costs. So on top of this 5,937, you can add enjawulo. You can add a what? There is nothing wrong with that. What if you add 30%? What is God's mind on that? You are beginning to go in the areas of what? Exorbitant. Now, how will you know your percent if you don't count the cost? How will you price things if you don't count cost? You'll end up selling only. The other one sells 1,000. For me, I think let me sell 950. How will you? You will go by market price. How does even someone determine market? Outside forces. Which are those forces? What is the basis of those forces? And in the old times, we would call a product not a product, but a good. You know why it was called a good? Because it was good. And how many birds do we sell as goods? I'm asking, how many birds do we sell as goods? Yes? Yes, please.
I remember I used to sell perfume, but they will tell you that, like when someone comes and wants to buy, they will say, is this one of Dubai? Is this South Africa? Or because some of us who have traveled to South Africa, no, to Dubai, they ask you, we are gonna count. You want counterfeit or original? So that is it. Then if your heart is not clear, you buy, and for us to get ours from US. So now someone would say, people are very expensive. But later on they would come and say, I sprayed. By the time I reached office, the kawowo had gone. Now I've come back to buy the original. So it is also out there. You want the quality or original counterfeit. So that's the world, really.
Thank you. Sell something for what it is. Yes, please.
I think the issue of market value also with the area of land. Recently, I was having a chat with Nathaniel over there. We went to check out on a few apartments that are being constructed. But you look at the size that they are of the rooms, a 2-bedroom apartment being costed at 240 million. But the true, genuine professional architects will tell you that that is actually cheating. And if the government is to know that that's what is going on and is doing its work, such people will not be in business because it is totally against the pricing policies of apartments. That is too small, too small to be costed that.
Okay.
But of course, because the system up there is accessed by the players and they talk behind the office and do this kind of thing, it is just allowed to go on like that.
Okay.
But it is totally wrong. It's a bad product. It's not good. There is no there is no honesty. The profit margins are abnormal, too exorbitant, and that kind of thing.
And you are too weak to change that, isn't it? So you build the capacity to do what? To change the things. You continue, please. I think that micro. Yes, these are real issues we have to deal with.
Like I said, is reverse engineering. They'll tell you if you buy this one, it's expensive. And like you said, whereas I was wowed today, actually, nobody has ever told me why products are called goods. I have realized today why they're actually called goods, because of its quality. So quality products usually have a determined lifespan. And the cost is based on the lifespan. So if you buy a cheaper thing, you buy it either twice or 3 times the actual lifetime of the quality product. So if you bought a shoe, if they told you a shoe is 200,000, that's the lifespan of the shoe. You can buy a shoe of 70,000. You can be sure you buy 3 pairs before the one who bought the one at 200,000 has replaced his. But because the market is engineered to create slaves, they will tell you, no, you're actually saving. So you fall for buying the one of 70,000. Saving on the assumption of what the market is telling you. Now, the other thing, why do we have overly priced commodity? It is actually not a problem of a regulator. This economy, up to about 2007, we had financial regulation, but it was not stringent. And people were accessing what Mr. Mwesiga was calling deal money. And because you cannot take deal money to the bank, you go and buy an asset. And because people were rushing to dispose, we come 3 of us. It's like an auction. You say, what was the price? You say 7 million. But because we are 3 of us, we try to outcompete each other. So we keep hyping and hyping. And that's how we ended up with the most expensive real estate, not only in Africa, but even in Asia. You have property that is the most expensive, not just in Africa, but in Asia. Can I tell you? Now, this is what happens. That property now in Uganda is bought and sold in Dubai. Because the prices at which they are selling, our system cannot accommodate it. The money that needs to be moved when property is sold in Uganda, our banking system is not calibrated to handle. For example, I'll give 2 examples and I'll stop. All of us know the building that is called Mega Standard. All of us know the building called Pioneer Mall. If that money, that the one Mega Standard, Aponye, was sold complete, and then Pioneer Mall is being built, if the money is involved in those two transactions, we're involved in the transaction, the financial system in Uganda, will not be struggling about no money. Because a teacher will be able to borrow and the market would make sense. Somebody in Nakasero will be able to borrow and it would make sense. Because that money will be transitioning, moving from one point to another. They'll be buying and selling. That money in Uganda is only on paper, but it's either in Mauritius and Dubai.
Have you understood? Yes. Now, let me tell you something interesting. You know, when he speaks, he's speaking a real concept. And we've got to bring it to a bicycle. You understand? Yes. Such that it's out of a Mercedes. Yes. Yeah, it gets to a bicycle and we ride it on it. Yes. In short, crookedness rules our economy.
Remember that you're engaged in a Family Sense gathering, which is dedicated to equipping every man, every woman, every husband, every wife with practical wisdom on family and marriage. I hope you're enjoying yourself.
In short, crookedness rules our economy. In short, crookedness rules our economy, and it makes everybody depressed. So should we leave it the way it is? No. And let me tell you, these are the basics. Yes. When we get to Memvu, it is very serious business we are talking about. And if you see Memvu, don't see Memvu. Please get this same process. Yes. Apply it to your work what? Process. Because these are principles. They work uniquely for each business. Same principles. All together? Now, when we see pricing, what is the pricing being added? 20%. everything percent, a fifth. You remember? It is God who teaches us to profit. And he says, cursed is he who adds exorbitant. And then now here he's telling us his range is those areas. I think that should help you to make sound and proper judgment. For details, your specific details, we shall talk another day. Okay? So we are seeing this menvu. All we added is a 10%. Are you seeing it there? So the person will be making 594,000. So he should sell. His exact price would be 6,530. But because somebody might not have the change of 30, so let's round it up to 6,600. Make sense? That's the way. If he sells a bunch. If we look at clusters, and you know the first cluster is without what? Delivering. What is the cost per cluster? 1,001. You add the 10%, what do you end up with? Making 100 shillings per cluster. Are you seeing it there? Yes. And of course, exact price, if you add 10%, would be 1,101. But then if you add, we can round it up to 1,200. Make sense? If it involves delivering, you remember? The difference between delivering and no delivering is real there. 42 shillings, but it means serious business. Okay? So what do we have? 10% on top of 1,042 is 104. So what do we end up with? 146. But for round up, we are ending up with 1,200. Now it appears as though the price is the same, but the cost of delivering and not delivering is not the same. Make sense? Yes. Now, that's pricing from the fundamentals. I want to call it pricing from precepts, from the standards, the original, where you are not guessing. We are not depending on market price says this. So things you can keep, you are in control. This markup is you, the business person, who decides. Purely your decision. Nobody decides that for you. Markup. That's what we call a markup. Choose to call it enjawulo, which you add on to the costs. Very normal. Now let's go to gross margin. Gross margin is enjawulo you make on everything, okay? On everything. So let's look at it this way. What is revenue? Because we want to know revenue. We want to know what? Revenue from all branches to begin with. What are the number of branches? 150. How much are we selling it? Price rounded up for a branch is 6,000. So how much is it? We are making 150 times 6,000. Yes. So how much are we making? Are you seeing 990,000 in somebody's hands? Yes. Big money, isn't it? Big money. How much did it cost for those products to be ready for sale? Do you remember the 890? 500. So how much does he have in, how much is his revenue? 990,000. What is the cost of making that money he has in his hands?
890.
How much money has he actually made?
99,500.
What are we talking about? Revenue minus what? Equals? What is his real profit he has made there? 99,500. If he sold all of them as bunches. But let us see if he sold them as clusters. So you remember there are 150 bunches. And we are talking of 6 clusters. So what is the volume? What is the amount of clusters he is going to sell? 150 bunches times 6, how much is that? 900. So that's where the 900 is coming from. Difficult math? This is P4 math, right? And how much is he selling per cluster?
1,200.
So how much is he getting per cluster?
1 million.
Just if get a feel of 1 million in the hands. How much does it cost for a cluster which is not delivered? 1,001. You remember? Yes. How many clusters are we having?
900.
So how much is it costing that person? So how much is he actually making?
179.
How much does he have in his hands?
179, 500.
How much money has he actually made?
179.
He has 1,080,000, but he has actually made 179, 500.
We have account of things properly. When I have 1 million in my pocket, I can fold it properly in the wallet. So that the wallet looks what? Big. But how much is the real money I have made? And if I borrow the money to go and buy my and there is interest on it.
Yes. I say so for me.
Okay. Let's go to if he delivered. And if he delivered the products, how much does he have in his pocket? Still 900 clusters times 1,200. He seems to have the same amount of money, right? But how much does it cost to deliver? 1,042. Times 900, how much is the cost? 938,016. How much is he making? Do you realize the difference?
Yes.
When he delivers, he has a difference of... Are you seeing the difference, people here? Yes. These are real things, and we are telling you a real business. What happened as he kept, when he learned how to do things? What happened to the man who used to complain before this counting? The complaints reduced. What was the outcome of his life? He bought what? He built his house, a big one. So the former complainer, when he learned the discipline, what happened? Nothing changed about his business, but his perspective, his attitude, his counting these things. Make sense? That's the point we want to make in this. And finally, but by the way, that is his money. That is assuming he doesn't rent the store. How long does it take for him to do this? Now, this was a weekly cycle. He was selling this in a weekly what? Cycle. Why? There are costs related to the movement of time. Does he rent the place where he sells from? And rent is costed per bunch? Per what? Per 30 days. And not even 30 days in a month, but per 20 worker days. Yes. Take off the days he doesn't work. Do we have a salary for him? Do we have a salary for the helper when he goes to deliver to his customers? So you think the 170 or the 141 is his money already? No, that's not yet profit. That is called the enjawulo, not magoba. Enjawulo is the difference you make against it, but you have not yet looked at the other version of the costs. You remember the other version of the costs? We have not yet looked at what? Costs of operating the what? Are you seeing the difference there? The others are costs of delivering. Menvu. Now, what about costs of operating the business, such as rent for the place where he operates from? Such as KCC's was what? License per year. Nabugabo garbage collection. Even the salesperson who helps him when he goes to buy and he goes to deliver. Now that is the other version. The version of cost of operating the business depend on the movement of time. They are time-based costs. That's what operating costs are all about. Whether you like it or not, as long as time is moving, rent is moving. Whether you sell menvu or not, you chose to use the place for selling what? Any business has those two kinds of what? Costs. Just be sure of that. So that's why here we have brought the operating what? Cost. Are you seeing that? Per month. There is the rent for the store, which is 100,000. Are you seeing it there? But then he also pays license, municipal license, which is the KCCA license, 100,000 per year. But what are we looking at? Cost per. So how many months are we talking about? How much is the cost per month for the license? 8,300 and what? What happens if he doesn't count that in his costs? He will end up eating money, thinking it is his. When KCCA shows up, he says, I don't have money. He's under pressure. And he's going to a money lender. And he will add interest on it. Understood? Yeah. So the wise thing also to do, are you seeing salaries? Please, if you own any business which is here, don't eat the business. If you don't pay yourself salary, you are going to eat the what? The business. Limit yourself within a certain salary. Please stop wild what? Understood? After all, it's my business. Come on. Foolishness. I'm sorry to say. That's foolish. If it is not foolish, then it is childish. Which of those do you want to be? Please pay yourself a what? Set a salary where you know I am limiting myself within what? This. I will get dividends later. If you don't do that, you are going to eat the business, whether you want it or not. You are just going to do as you please.
Family Sense is on a mission of teaching God's truth for reforming marriages and building families throughout the nation. Stability of our nation can only be realized with well-founded families and marriages. We therefore invite you to engage in Family Sense gatherings. Should you have any questions or need specific assistance, please feel free to contact us on 0772 518 554 or 0754 73 4738. You can also email us on noregrets@counselor.com. God bless you. We look forward to seeing you next time.